Hello, everybody. This is Evangeline, and I've been working as a business studies teacher with the Ministry of Education Maldives. It's been almost a year since I started working here, and I've learned a lot of things after moving abroad as a teacher. So, the first and foremost thing that I learned here after coming is how to write an effective lesson plan. Whenever I wrote a lesson plan after coming here, I always had comments on my lesson plan. I always had remarks about this could have been better and that could have been better. Irrespective of how much ever I tried to make my lesson plan better, I always had remarks on my lesson plan. It was simply because my concept about teaching and my concept about conveying the class or conveying the content in the class was totally different. Because the ITCSE or the Cambridge actually follows a totally different method in order to transfer the knowledge to the students. So, the first and foremost mistake that I made was the way I structurized my lesson plan. So, I'd like to share a few tips on how to build an effective lesson plan. So, the first thing is that the lesson plan has to be built based on the prior knowledge of the student. Content is the foremost thing that we all need to focus on. But covering the syllabus is not the only thing that our focus should be. Of course, that is mandatory, but we shouldn't emphasize more on covering the syllabus and completing the syllabus as soon as possible so that we can start with the revision. But rather than that, our focus should be on how is the content being delivered to the student. So, in order to know that, we should first check on the prior knowledge of the student. What are we going to teach today to the student? Or what is the student going to learn from this topic? And what is the misconception that the student has about this topic? So these are the few things that we need to clear before we could start. We have to focus on the activity part. How are we going to go forward with the lesson? So, in order to start the class, we should make sure that the prior knowledge has to be checked, or it should be made even more strong by probably showing a video to the students, or maybe by asking a brainstorming question or an ice breaking activity. After that, you can focus on the main activity, and the main activity should be with the involvement of the student. So rather than listening, the student actually learns while doing. So we should make sure that we come up with different activity, and the activity has to be mentioned, and also it has to be timed. You have to make sure that the activity covers about 15 to 20 minutes, after which we can focus on the closure part, knowing the reflection part, how the student has understood the topic. We can use various assessment tools to make sure that the student had understood the topic. And the assessment tool and the teaching aids, everything has to be mentioned in the lesson plan. And what are the assessment tools that we can use? There are various information technology tools that we can use, like Kahoot, and a lot of fun aspects are there. If not, we can come up with various games. So, all that has to be mentioned in the lesson plan. So, your lesson plan has to have from the starting, that is, checking the prior knowledge of the student, to focusing on the main activity and what activity is going to be organized and how is the student involvement going to be, and after which you have to focus on how you are going to check the knowledge of the student at the end, or how are you going to assess the student. All these have to be included in the lesson plan. So after all this, you can also focus on the content covering and the syllabus covering, and also focusing on your revision later. But your first and foremost aspect as a teacher is to transferring the knowledge to the student, which you should never forget, not just in your teaching but also in your lesson plan. I hope this video was informative. Now, in order to get more updates on teaching and how to come up with various aspects of teaching, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow it.